I hope so, because some people have said you've got to send me the recording because I can't make it due to time.
There we go. So,
yeah.
So Caroline Banks is, as we already introduced her, as one of our top artists, London-based painter who works with gesso, inks, is very, very driven by the memory of gesture, and also very minimalist in a sense, imagery, and her images are very inspired by the Asian culture and scripts, I would just say, but the rest I'll leave to her. And
we'll talk about that a bit as well if you like, don't worry.
We invited Caroline to have a conversation with me and Art Experiences really and our crowd, just because it has been quite harsh times recently, and for many of us in the art world and outside of the art world, of course, and have been trying to figure out ways of how to really stay well mentally and physically. And we were speaking with Caroline a few days ago or a few weeks ago about well-being and our own creativity and the creativity and well-being of our artists and our colleagues and peers out there. Hello, everybody that knows us.
And hello, the ones who don't.
And hello to
that's really important. That's really important. Yeah.
That's correct. Yes. And we wanted to just have a conversation based on this topic and really talk about the creativity being a benefit and how to reach out to our own creative muscles, if we like, and exercise them little bit by little bit. As you know, Art Experiences, we specialize in giving experiences usually to excite and stimulate and celebrate art through the studios of our fabulous artists. But at times like these, we also feel that we need to inspire a little bit more, and we need to give in a little bit more from ourselves just to make sure that we connect with you. And this is one of the very purposes of this very conversation. So good evening, Caroline.
Yes, greetings from, North London, really, which is where I live. As you can see, I'm in a room, which is actually my home studio. That's the one that has good Wi-Fi. The actual painting studio doesn't, so I'm here at the moment. And taking up from what you were saying, Minna, basically talking about, art and well-being for artists, but actually what I'm really interested in and what I've been developing, particularly this year, is how creativity is essential to everybody's well-being, not just artists. I mean, it's great with Art Experiences, you can book a day, or you'll be hearing more about other stuff later. But also I noticed, the whole thing of everything going into lockdown back in March, all my shows, all my fairs, everything was cancelled. So as a working artist, in terms of my income, everything just stopped. Literally, everything fell off a cliff from one moment to the next. And that was a real shock. And actually, it was quite traumatic. Now, for me, art is something I have to do. It is part of my own well-being. And it was very interesting to become aware of how people generally were seeking to do small creative things in terms of a comfort, a reassurance, something to relieve this anxiety that we're all living in. And it is, I think it's a massively important part. And it's not just something that is nice to do. It's actually, I think it's essential. I think it's absolutely essential to everybody's well-being as a human. And people I was talking to were saying, well, I know it'd be great to do it. I can't draw. I don't know where to start, and I haven't got time. I'm stuck in meetings all day, or I'm sitting at home, I'm depressed, I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. And so I had been giving some workshops the last few years, small face-to-face workshops, where basically I was combining playing and drawing as a form of creativity, but taking the scariness away from it, because I think it's actually really hard. You know, when you start and you think, you know, you've got this blank sheet of paper or a blank canvas, and you just think, what am I going to do? I've just got no idea. And anyway, I can't do it. So it is, you know, your mind is telling you you can't do it even before you start. And so I just found this really interesting. One thing I actually want to read a couple of quotes, because I do collect quotes that I find completely intriguing. And one that came out it's from George Bernard Shaw, of all people. And it's, we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. And I just thought that's so true. You know, we're grown up, we think we have to be responsible, we think we have to get it right all the time. People tell us, you know, oh, you can't make mistakes, you can't do this, you can't do that. Well, you can actually. And in fact, it's a great release to be able to. And the people who I've been giving the workshops to, and the people I've already been developing my new project with, which will come on later, it's the sense of relief they feel is actually quite remarkable. And not only that, but what people produce who think they can't even hold a pencil properly, it's actually really inspiring. You know, I mean, I've been, it's people who've not done anything since primary school are like, whoa, really? So yeah, so I'm sort of, in a way, I'm on a mission. In addition to my own work, which is carrying on, obviously, I'm on a mission to spread this. Sorry?
Has this inspired your new line of work, and sort of the workshops and these sort of discoveries and communicating with people more and more in this sort of manner? Have they inspired your work at the moment, what you're producing?
I think that the fact of being able to relax into it, because we know as artists we actually do our best work when we're relaxed and we're in the zone. Mm-hmm. What's called in the zone, when you're just focused on what you're doing, everything else just disappears. You're just doing what you're doing, and that is in a way returning to the focus that children have when they're making or drawing things. It doesn't really matter what else is going on. You're just doing it and you're enjoying it. And actually, physiologically, you know, loads of scientific studies have been done that being creative lowers your blood pressure, lowers your levels of cortisol, basically is good for you. It makes you relaxed, you enjoy it. And the brilliant thing is, whether you are an artist or a complete non-artist, you get exactly the same benefit. Your body has exactly the same benefit. I mean, I think that's amazing.
It is amazing. I actually feel that there's a confusion out there between people, because often I get to talk to people about creativity and being creative and making things, and they think that just because they can't make something as what they believe is good as a museum piece or somebody else's, therefore they lack creativity. And this is a huge misunderstanding. I think that's a massive misunderstanding out there. And it is really important, because we, as you say, we're born being creative, and somewhere along the way, we lose sight of that creativity, which is actually being there with us from the very first day we were out on this planet, and it's there to protect us from something and to aid us with certain issues and certain things that we might want to express. I remember personally with me, when I was confused in between several languages in my early childhood, I found that the only language I could actually express myself directly with was drawing and painting. And that's what took me onto this sort of critical path of my career. And it was a very early memory, and I remember kind of deciding that this is what I'm going to do, because that corresponds to an international language. But it is a really good job what you're doing with and what we are all doing, speaking about it. But it's very, very interesting that there's gap between knowing what to do and allowing yourself to do something within any time frame. Because the other issue is, how long are you almost allowed to be creative for? Because we've been given all these allowances of time with our jobs and travels and schedules, and suddenly we don't know, oh, where can I fit creativity in today? So you have something going on, or you've been working on a project here. You can share with us several ideas you've been working with your students.
Well, yeah, well, I don't think of it as sort of me teaching or students. It's more a case, I'm a facilitator, and I'm just saying, right, this is the sand pit. In we all go, yay, we can play. But why don't we do, why don't we do that? And what do you think about that? And it's very much, as I say, it's that conversation. And people say, oh, I did that. And then someone say, oh, well, that's really good. And that bit reminds me of this. And that bit reminds me of that. And I've started up a private Facebook group. So I'll be giving information on that later. But it is that thing of basically, even if it's only for 5 minutes, you think, okay, I can do that. And, the wildest thing is a course that, IT, science, business, oh yes, we need creative solutions to all these problems we have. Yeah, well, you've got to be able to think in a way that's not necessarily linear, that's not necessarily what everyone else does, to be able to come up with these solutions. So I just want to basically nudge that little door open and, peek round the edge and say, come on, in you come, let's go, we can do that. And what about this? And what about that? And it's a release for a lot of people. It's almost like letting that tension go. It's like, oh, thank God for that, I can just do that. And literally people do feel calmer.
And I'm really proud, because I'm really proud of everyone that's been creative, whether they during the last year that we've had to deal with so much, everything changing, so much change, so much doom and gloom, so many negative information on the news and all that. And
loss. A lot of people have lost somebody, or they've been very ill and they're not recovered yet. I know someone in their 30s who was like super fit, got COVID, and now they've got almost ME. They're really struggling. And this was somebody who had no symptoms, wasn't in the age bracket. We don't know. It's actually very frightening. And you can become completely weighed down by this anxiety, which is also because this is going on. And, we are very lucky. We live in a wealthy country. Most of us have homes that we can rely on. We have a health system, So, but there's that constant low level of anxiety that's very debilitating. So, when I was thinking what I could do to help, I just thought, well, I'll develop what I've already been starting. And yeah, in times of crises, innovation happens. So I thought, well, I haven't got deadlines. I haven't got exhibitions to work towards. Although actually I've got some work in an exhibition at the moment that's going to be hopefully in real time. So it's in a group show, and it's officially, I think, open after the lockdown. So people can, in fact, go in, which would be fantastic. But the point is that it's something we can do, and it's something I've been able to develop more quickly than I would have developed if I'd had my normal schedule.
That's exactly sort of the direction I was trying to get into as well, in sort of thinking of the creative mind and the fact that we can, all of us, the human race, can really take on board more than just one job or more than just one direction. And when you have developed creativity, or at least creativity within your thinking, within your business, within your everyday schedule, that sort of allows a level of flexibility and allows us to be less controlling over what we do necessarily, and just allow incident to happen, even to surprise us. We're allowing surprise to come in, and don't necessarily discard it just because it's not something we have thought about, or it's not something that's been fed to us by the media.
Completely. I mean, it means, you know, we start questioning more. I remember being at school and they'd have a debating society, and I was always ending up in the don't knows. And it's not that I didn't know, it's that I couldn't agree with one side or the other. And I just thought, I'm not a don't know. I just don't agree with your point of view. So it's like, well, you know, I just don't fit in. I feel a bit that way with IT, actually. It's just like my brain just does not work in the same way as a computer. But having said that, I think, you know, what I come up with is much more poetic, and I'm happier with that. But it is that making spaces for different options, and it's a lifelong process. It's not something that you learn and think, okay, I've done it now. No. It goes on forever. It will only ever stop when we die. And I think, I just think it's magical. I just love it.
This is exactly it. But I also, going back to the beginning of the year, just to see how many people's creative practice even changed, and how people managed to create this cathartic line of work that to some was completely different from what they were already doing. Some were pushed to do something else. I created a couple of collections that were very different and very unusual, but at the same time gave me a lot of joy doing. And I know that quite a lot of our art experiences artists have been going through different journeys as well. But it's been, I feel like we have been kind of a bit more lucky in the sense of being saved by our creativity, and by the fact that we found a place of rescue within our studios, being in a lockdown. I actually found that I had a little bit more time than usual, as you were saying, for yourself. But how can we share this with people that don't practice creative work every day? What would we tell them, do you think? How can we share our experience?
Well, I think it's the idea of being very open. I mean, I've started a private Facebook group. So it's basically just a private Facebook group, go play with drawing. So you can look it up and ask to join. And it's for people who just, want to have a little play with drawing. And it's a safe space. It's what I think is very, very important is that there's no good or bad, there's no right or wrong. I mean, obviously there are basic just, rules, as in, you're not going to insult people and tell them their work's rubbish, because we don't do that. Yeah. But it is that sort of, it's that little spot of security. So, and also, I mean, I was looking at what was out there when I thought, maybe I'll do a course to improve, I don't know, something of mine. And I looked at some, and I actually tried one or two, and it was like, oh, this is how to do this is how to do that. And I thought, no, that's not for me, because it's not much fun. And I'm not really learning. It's like you're telling me what I'm doing has to be like this, and I don't want to be told it has to be like this. I want to find my own way. And so the idea of what I'm doing is for people to find their own way. They may find that actually what's most creative for them is cutting up bits of paper and just sticking them down, and they really love it. I mean, some artists have made careers out of that. For me, it's getting people to relax, to enjoy, to get to that point of focus. And as one person said to me, she said, oh, it's great because I did that, and there'd been a problem that had been, niggling at my mind, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And after just doing one of the little exercises that you suggested, the solution came to me. And it's that thing of just letting the brain relax, and then things happen in the background and you're not quite sure. And it is, they say inspiration strikes. I wouldn't go as far quite as that, but very often it's that because you're not holding on to something so tight, just letting it go, then things happen.
Yes, I completely agree. For example, when I feel stuck sometimes in the studio for a certain question of a certain problem I'm dealing with, what really helps me is a walk, a long walk. But
Yeah,
I don't even
exactly.
think about what's in the studio. I just have to leave it at rest and not fight it. And then I go for a walk with the idea of thinking of something else, just to take in some fresh air. And somewhere I've come with my best ideas and the best solutions whilst I've been walking down the London parks. Often,
So yeah, so for people who never do creative stuff, then doing something creative is a complete break from what they're normally doing.
Yes.
So that in itself, and there are exercises actually you can do when you're walking as well.
Well, I started actually talking to myself out loud, making voice notes. And often I get some strange looks, but I just feel like it's okay. I'm only having a staff meeting.
Yeah, you could be on your phone. I mean, loads of people talk out loud in the street these days.
It doesn't really matter, exactly, especially where we are. But yes, I just think changing your view of where you are and allowing time and allowing to be brilliant in 2 minutes or 5 minutes doing something, or allowing yourself to take your time and create something over a month or 2 months is absolutely acceptable.
Yeah. As I say, this you know, it's very much I develop things in stages. So if you've only got 5 minutes or even 2 minutes, there are things you can do. If you've got more time, there are other things you can do. And also, you know, you can actually take this journey with different workshops, different sessions, even like a group program. There are all kinds of things you can do. But I say I was starting off with just because I don't want it to be scary. I don't want people to think, oh, I've got to do all this stuff. It's like, no, you don't. You just need a few minutes. In fact, we'll just give yourself a few minutes. Make it a little present to yourself and do that.
So what can you did mention we should have a pen and paper. So what would you be doing with that?
Well, you can do it or you can not do it. It's entirely up to you. And the thing, actually, I will take a brush just to make it seem a bit more arty, I suppose. A nice clean brush. And if you're ready,
I am going to do it with you.
Yeah, you do it?
Yes.
Okay, so I want you to basically draw what I'm drawing in midair.
Okay.
So I'm not going to tell you what it is. You just follow the movements I make.
Okay.
And see what you come up with.
All right.
That's the first stage, okay? So we'll do that for about, I don't know, see how it goes. And you're looking at me, so you can't look at the paper.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you just have to follow this. And if it's just one line, you can do it. Let me get my head out of the way.
I think I'm failing terribly.
No, there is no such thing as failure. That's what's so wonderful about it. Now I think I'm out of focus, so let's go back to here. Maybe that doesn't translate so well. Those were like dots.
I can see the dots, I just don't want to see my page.
No, don't look at your paper. That's really important.
Okay.
And then
I should have taken the brush too.
No, it's fine. It's fine. That's it. Okay. Now I'd like you to hold it up to the screen without looking at it.
Oh, yeah, it's not blank. It's the right.
Just do it. Minna, just do it.
Here you go.
Wow. You see, now that could be a doodle, right? You can look at it now.
Well, what does it say? It's very
It's very cloud-like.
It's very cloud-like. I try to keep my my pen on the page for some reason.
Yeah, it helps very often. Yeah.
It feels, with where I've got dots, it does feel like a script of some sort, and some sort of cave drawing.
Okay.
Very native, sort of like crop circle type of, in a crop circle type of.
there were circular elements. I will give you that. So
What was it?
you want to know what I was drawing?
Can you show me what the picture was supposed to be like?
There is no supposed to be. It was just me making marks. But
Okay.
what I was drawing, first of all, I drew a hand.
Uh-huh.
And then I drew like a sunflower.
Uh-huh.
And then I was doing the little dots were snow.
Oh.
And then I actually was writing.
Uh-oh.
And what I was writing was everything you're doing is wonderful.
Oh, wow.
So that was it.
Love it.
The point is, now you have a drawing that is only resembling your drawing. It's not really resembling anything else.
Anything else, and it's pretty special. It is pretty special.
And then what you can do, if you want, you can embellish it. You can colour it in. It's just something that takes nothing. It's almost nothing at all, and yet it's something.
Yes.
You see what I mean? It's just something that's not, you know.
But I did feel a slight sense of meditation when I was doing that. When I was following your gestures,
yeah,
I could feel that sort of meditative. I felt
it's a soothing quality to it.
Yeah. Yes, I felt really connected, and I felt like I was going somewhere. Is that strange? Is it? I felt like
it's something that happens. I mean, the weird thing is, I was actually doing a little video of a little demonstration of something for the Facebook group, and I had to do it again because the first time I did it, I went into the zone, and I was actually doing, and realised I wasn't even doing it on screen. So I had to stop and start again because there is something inherently soothing about it.
Wow.
And I mean, that was probably a bit too short to be very effective, but it's just literally to give an idea.
It was very good, and I actually felt really, although I have been practicing painting for more than 20 years myself now, I felt brand new, like I have never touched a pencil before. How strange. Even, and it's not just even I'm sure that pretty much anybody, all the artists I know, if we did that together, we'll all feel pretty naked. It's like that sort of naked feeling. It's because you're doing something out of your comfort zone, and even if you're creative already, that's still out of my comfort zone, and it's really nice.
Well,
very
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I would just not necessarily call it being out of the comfort zone. I think it's just out of one's habitual zone.
Right.
Because I don't think it's an uncomfortable thing to do. I think it's like it's just that thing of just let it happen. And because you don't know what the outcome is supposed to be, you can't try and control it.
But I got the levels of excitement was sort of climbing up.
Well, it's good for the excitement, but hopefully it wasn't anxiety.
No anxiety.
No, well, that's the thing, because the thing is, you didn't know what you were supposed to be doing. You just had to do what I was saying. Well, you just did. Again, you didn't have to. It was your choice. So, but
you have the power, Caroline. You have the power to make me do things like that. Live.
You will do it. You will do it. But it's that thing of, and it is just being playful. And there's another, I've got some more quotes. I wrote a few quotes down here, and it was another one from one of the most famous scientists ever, Albert Einstein, where he's just saying play is the highest form of research. It's actually how we learn. So it's how our brains you know, explore things, and it's not a waste of time. It's not insignificant. It's actually incredibly important. And that's why I'm so horrified at, you know, the way the education system doesn't seem to be realizing the importance of, again, this flexible way of thinking and an outlook where you can actually, we can really produce amazing stuff. Our brains and our cells, we can produce amazing stuff. But it needs to be released. It needs to be encouraged and nurtured. And when it is, incredible things happen. You know,
just nurturing the child, not the infant in you, but the child.
No. It's the child. It's the joy,
the curiosity. As what was it? Was it Picasso that said, "Once you know you've grown old, once you've lost your curiosity that you had when you were a child."
And also, you know, you spend your life trying to return to drawing like a child. Yeah. So it's not drawing like, you know, like a kid. It's basically the mental state of mind.
To the sort of, to the, I would say, the skeptic out there, because there are a lot of people who I have personally met who would see an abstract piece of work and they'll just shrug and say, my 5-year-old can do this. I'm sure you can too. So what message would we send there?
Well, that reminds me of a gallerist I used to work with who, at an art fair, somebody came up to her and said, my granddaughter could do that. She says, oh, can you introduce me to your granddaughter, please? And it really threw the person, because they just said, oh, you know, they didn't realise. But the point is, it's, and with a lot of contemporary, it's like, oh, I could do that. But did you? Did you think of that idea? You didn't, did you? Did you do it? No, you didn't. So it's, again, and it's also that we're constantly evolving, we're constantly developing. I mean, I have a quite traditional drawing experience. I love life drawing. That's my favorite kind of drawing. But actually what I'm interested in my art is recording the transference of energy and the memory of the gesture of things that don't remain in the world, things that don't exist or no longer exist. And those things to me are as important as, you know, physical things. So that's what I'm interested in. But just because I do it doesn't mean I can't draw. So if you want to see some good life drawings, I can show you some, but I don't have them on me here. They're in the other studio. But look at my Instagram feed. But the thing is that abstract is for the stuff that cannot be photographed, for the stuff that cannot be realized, as in, that can't be conveyed in a so-called realistic form. And let's remember too that every single mark one makes, or that any artist makes, even if it's a so-called realist painting, it's an abstract mark, because you're basically translating what is a three-dimensional thing onto 2 dimensions. That in itself is an abstract act. So everything we do is abstract.
I completely, I agree with you. And I'm a firm believer that you can't create abstract work properly, in a sense. I don't know, I just feel you almost can't unless you really are very familiar with representational painting and drawing, because of sort of the studies that we've had to do, and our ancestors have had to do in art, and
it's craft. It's craft.
It's craft, exactly. It's craft, and then it goes the full circle.
We learn,
and it's all about. And I remember once you and I at an art fair, couple of 2-3 years ago, when we met at the other art fair, and we were talking about your circular closing the circle visions and your work at the time, And it is about closing that circle. It is about from drawing to painting to discovery to line to abstraction. It's a whole vocabulary, and I don't believe you have to pick one or the other. And in a way, in a sense, you do. But sometimes I just feel that I just have this urge to do something very figurative, and I almost feel naughty about it these days because it's like,
give yourself permission, Minna. Give yourself permission.
it's
That's
like,
the thing.
ooh, there's a chocolate box, and I really can go and grab some things from there. And
Completely. Yeah. I mean, we learn our craft. I mean, my background is drawing.
mm-hmm.
That is very much my background. I used to do, I have had representational phases in my career. It depends on what particular thing I'm interested in at the time. And the thing is, it's like language, you need to know the rules before you can break them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When you were saying that, you were getting confused with different languages, I grew up with, speaking 2 languages. And the great thing was that whatever I said in whatever language, I knew that my parents would understand me because they spoke several languages too. So it was great. I just did this whole mix. And then I would draw on the walls as well from the age of 3. So that wasn't so great, but I was still, communicating.
So tell us a little bit about your experience, your art experience in Asia, when you spent some time in Asia. How was that a cathartic experience for you to practice?
It's weird because I was talking to somebody about this the other day, that I always think that influences are like objects that just get thrown or just fall into this very deep lake. And occasionally something rises and you never know what's going to rise to the surface. Mm-hmm. And I lived in Asia, mainly India, but also China, and I was traveling around Burma, Thailand. And I wasn't particularly producing anything that was directly influenced at the time while I was out there at all. It's only actually when I came back to the UK, as I say, you'd think it was like, nearly 7 years that I was out there most of my life. I mean, I'd come back to Europe for visits, but I was actually, the vast majority of my time was in Asia. And it didn't really come out in my work till about 2 years after I got back. There were things that I had an affinity to, but then I'd had an affinity to them before going. Like I've always had a thing about indigo. I've always had a thing about sort of making, staining things and inks, and also just sort of combinations of things like 9 and 3. Those numbers have always meant something to me, and I hadn't done an awful lot with the circle before coming back, but then that came through, and it came through before I even knew that it was actually influenced by my time in Asia, or that it had references to things in Asia. For example, what's called the enso, which is the circle that's quite a meditative gesture in Zen Buddhism. You can see it a lot in Japan, in China, and I was drawing these things and I had no idea of the connection. And then I found out about it, and then somebody said, oh, when I see your work, I can really see the connection to the Tao. And I thought, oh, I better look up and see what the Tao is. But actually things, I've been absorbing all these things without realizing it. And the link with the circle as well, because I am obsessed with the circle, as you know. It's actually cells, atoms, planets, solar systems. It's the biggest shape we can make using our bodies. So if you stretch your arm out and go round, you're making a circle. If you lie on the ground and rotate, it's a circle. So that's the shape that we make. We view the world through our eyes, which are circles. It's a core part of our being and of nature. So that's sort of something I sort of tap into as well. And then don't get me started on quantum mechanics, because that's just another big, like, whoa. It's just,
Really?
yeah. So physics actually plays a part as well.
Really? I didn't know.
Everything's connected, Minna. Everything is connected.
I knew you, well, I know you are also a very avid collector of paintbrushes.
Oh, yes. Oh,
I,
these are like nothing.
the studio, which if
Yeah.
anyone on the website, you could see the some of the pictures of paintbrushes on the Instagram, on her Instagram.
And preferably handmade paintbrushes.
Handmade, ordered, delivered. I don't know. They're just unique. I remember.
Yeah. People bring them to me as presents now. It's great. So, and whenever I travel around, if I see a nice paintbrush, I will buy it. I'm, you know, it's my cushion or my lipstick, whichever you want to go. It's my impulse buy.
Yeah, it's just
brush.
Incredible. I remember you washing one of them at the.
Oh yes, yes.
And
that's a present from Hong Kong. Yes, and actually, that's my former boss from when I was working in India, who gave it to me as a present. And it's a beautiful calligraphy brush. Yeah, it's one of my favourite brushes. So it's very responsive. It's really responsive. Yeah.
You're also you're very good at keeping in touch with all the local exhibitions, with what's happening in the UK and London predominantly with shows, and you're writing your blog as well is quite very, very interesting. And I just wanted you to kind of share which were the sort of the on top of your list sort of exhibitions and things this summer, from the summer, and well, the summer not much, but sort of post that you've kind of seen and you found inspirational.
Oh, I mean, there are just so many different things. I mean, when I was living and working in Asia, I was actually, a lot of the work I was doing there was actually looking, which was great. So I was looking, searching out, exploring, and I was basically sourcing for interiors, but it's sort of finding people who could make stuff that would then appeal to the Western commercial market for interiors. So I was always looking, and I just thought, I see so much stuff, and 95% of what I see is absolute rubbish. So I really want to share the 5% of what I rate, of what I think is good. So I started doing a blog when I came back to the UK. And initially it was just sort of random things that I thought were interesting, like, you know, cycling around some back streets, I'd see maybe some street art, or I'd see some weird topiary, and I think, oh, that's quite interesting. And then I would share that. And now it's sort of more refined to exhibitions, events, the work of other artists that I see, as in contemporary artists. But one thing, I just posted it actually, I think it was this morning, Artemisia Gentileschi exhibition at the National Gallery. I saw that, and I mean, the woman was phenomenal.
Really?
So, absolutely phenomenal. If you wanted drama, you wanted superb technique, you wanted determined looking women, she was the artist to go for. But I mean, she was amazing. The maturity of her paintings at the age of 17, 18. I mean, she had been painting full time since a child.
Yeah.
And her father was an artist and he taught her. But I mean, yeah, incredible. Absolutely incredible. The way that she could render textiles, different textures, leather, velvet, fur. Oh, gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
Do you know when the show is until?
It's on my newsletter. So if you
Caroline Banks.
Yeah, I send out a monthly newsletter. So if you go to my website, carolinebanks.co.uk, you can sign up for the monthly newsletter, where I do just sort of events, things that are happening. And now, so often, it's not just, you don't just have to go there, because a lot of things are available online. So, you know, you don't have to live in London, you don't have to do that. But because I'm based in London, most of the information I get is actually, is in London. Yeah, another exhibition that I mean, there's the ING Discerning Eye exhibition at the moment, which is entirely online. I've got friends who are exhibiting in that.
I've always liked this exhibition. I've always liked the Discerning Eye exhibition. Have you ever taken part in it?
No, I haven't. And the terrible thing is that you have to do things a certain size.
Exactly. That's why.
And a lot of what I do is bigger than the allowed size, or else they're tiny, small studies. And I think, well, maybe they wouldn't necessarily be appropriate. But also, it's been a year of stopping and starting. And then I know there are several things I didn't apply for because I thought, well, no, I've got to hold the work back for this show. So I can't put it in. And that's happened about 3 times this year. So I think ING was one of those where I thought, well, I can't put it in because it's actually reserved for something else.
How many pieces are you having in your show opening next week?
Well, it's open online from, I think, oh gosh, I can't, maybe it's opened online already, but it's at St Saviour's Church, which is the old venue for the Florence Trust in North London. Amazing. And it's been curated by Modern Eccentrics, who are some friends of mine. So they just got a group of people and asked, say, you know, do you have anything you would like to show? And I thought, well, it's actually only a 15-minute walk from my house, so it's easy for me physically to get there. So I've got three pieces. So they are actually, it's actually a set of 3, but each piece can stand on its own. And they are the disc, the circles, but also with sort of like molten splashes of copper. And again, that idea of the movement. So not just, so with some of them is like the really clearly painted disc. So it's the circle. And then I basically painted the same thing, but without touching the canvas. So then you just get these drips coming through and this movement coming through. So there's that. And then there's another one where it goes more into the sort of quantum physics idea, where things are just sort of zipping off and fragmenting.
I just wanted to give an example for our viewers. If you go onto the Art Experiences website, I'm going to quickly just share with you the screen, and you can see there is actually a video of Caroline, a small short video of
yes.
Actually, yeah. I can't share the screen right now.
With the wonderful brush.
But yes, that's a video of Caroline Banks actually just for you to understand how physical and gestural her work is. And she's actually bare feet on floor, quite industrial space, working on a very large piece of paper. And this movement she's just talking about, are very pronounced there. And I remember, just to get it right, how many pieces of paper you had to change and how many different...
most of it wasn't right, was it? Most of it ended up in the bin.
But there was one that was, and actually stopped somebody, and they started talking to you because they could actually recognize symbols again, and they could...
Oh, that's right, yes.
And I thought that was an incredible experience. Somehow you connected with somebody in a crowd, because Caroline was doing a performance in front of a crowd of about 300 people, which we were taking a stand in. It was a stage, and some people stopped, some people walked away. It's just how people are with fine art and with art. And then there's just this one person, he just stood there for the entire duration of your performance painting, and he was watching you, and then he waited until you finish, and then he just asked you, did you mean to do that? And it meant something to him, very deeply connected to family member. I don't know, it was very special moment. And this is what you get through your creativity. It's just
it's connection. I mean, I was just, again, I wasn't looking at anything that was going on around me because I was just focused on what I was doing. And yes, I always paint on a horizontal surface. For large things, I'm on the floor. It's painting, and it's quite performative because I do use my whole body to do the things. But it was yes, I'd forgotten about that actually. It's
I had a request from somebody asking if we could have a tour of your brushes.
Oh, what? Just the ones here?
Well, yes, the ones here, or if you could send us a picture under the video, because I will keep the video on the.
I'm trying to think, because I have posted pictures of them on my Instagram feed, but that was a while ago. I haven't really. I'm just thinking, what have I got here? Hold on a minute.
Okay. Thank you, Craig. That.
They're all quite boring here. Although this one is actually one of my favourites for small things. You
I
can
remember
see
this little number.
it's very battered. But it's actually, initially it was like that all the way round. But I'm left-handed, and so I use it that way. Maybe I try using it that way, but anyway, it's all worn away on one side, but I love it.
Wow.
This is actually a calligraphy brush that I bought, oh God, I can't even remember. It must be about 20 years ago, maybe.
Wow. You look after it well.
And when it's got ink on it, it goes to a beautiful point. Hang on, this was drinking water, but it won't be anymore. But when can you see how it changes to a beautiful, beautiful point?
Really beautiful point. Yes.
Yeah. So there's that one.
That must be perfect for sketching as well.
Yeah, and they're very responsive, because if you press down hard, you get like a big blob. But otherwise, sometimes it's almost like the tickling of a hair.
Yeah.
So you can get really, really fine lines as well. And it's really quite voluptuous, the way that one works. This is another very, very battered one. So there. But that's mainly and I've trimmed all the loose hairs off it, because it takes ages for me to throw anything away. I really hate wasting anything. So I keep them going till they're like nothing. And that's actually my colour mixing brush. But you can see it's like the paint's gone on it.
Oh,
It's all quite battered.
I said that the brushes, I think these are amazing, but I think we can.
No, these are nothing compared to the ones I've got in the other studio.
I've seen, they're basically, one of them is pretty much the size of a whole squirrel tail, almost. But
yeah, some of them they are, and some are like just loads of twigs together.
Yes, they give.
A lovely Japanese one, and it's just like a collection of twigs that's bound at one end. But I haven't got any pictures here, I'm afraid.
I actually posted your brushes on our Art Experiences Instagram account. So there is
have you? Okay.
Your brushes hanging down from the window, which I've borrowed from your Instagram account. And yeah, it's yes, so whoever is interested to see that, you can just go and have a look, and you will recognize the brushes, because they're the only brushes there.
Yeah, because the selection here is actually minimal.
Well, it's,
as I say, everything I do normally is in the making studio.
So sort of like to end today's end is a horrible word, but to kind of conclude on today's conversation, I just wanted to say, if anybody had any questions for Caroline, just drop us a message on the Art Experiences website, or you could actually ask us directly on our Instagram. It's Art Experiences UK, or website is artexperiences.co.uk. But before we finish for tonight, we have actually introduced another experience which Caroline has really kindly designed for us as well, and it's called the meditative and creative experience. I'm just going to try and share the screen again.
I have to say, you've got all the information there.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and share the screen here. So it's here. So you could see this experience on our website, and you can have a look, because this is online and it's shorter experience than the one-on-one experience which we usually offer, and Caroline would welcome you to her studio for a day of fabulous delights. But before we finish, could you tell us the difference between a workshop and experience with you? What would that be?
Yeah, I mean, the workshops that I do and that I'm developing online just with me are 1 hour sessions, and also then there's a series of them. They take one subject and then another subject and then another subject. The experience through art experiences is 2.5 hours online, which in a way is a condensed and more focused experience, where you get the chance to actually do it sort of in a way that the journey that there are no breaks, so it's the flow. And then if you would like to do more, then you've got other options. So there's the full day, which will be face-to-face when we can do face-to-face again, because my studio is big enough to be able to cope, actually, even with social distancing. But it's more fun to do it properly face-to-face. And it's, yeah, as I say, it's almost like pulling the best bits from the workshops into a 2.5 hour session online. It's different, but it's another way of exploring the ideas, and another way of playing, but developing. I keep coming back to the word explore and research. Those words are actually really important to me.
It? So you actually really get to have Caroline in her studio for yourself, and it's a one-on-one experience where it can take any directions. It's not entirely pre-designed, but it could be designed slightly in advance, and you get to actually really have her for a day, which none of us has.
And it's a very sort of individual experience as well. So it would be facilitating the journey that you want to take. I'm not going to say you have to do this, you have to do that. It's not my style. I don't like people telling me, and I'm not going to tell people. So it's very much sort of facilitating and then exploring the way that you're interested in going in, and helping you to develop that.
Well, that's amazing. So I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time today to speak with us. And actually, this was a really nice conversation. I feel like I have caught up with you properly in a sense, and
I enjoyed it. Yeah,
a couple of weeks ago, but it's really nice to just have this time of leisure and just to speak. And I feel like a lot of our friends and new friends, hopefully to come, have been watching us, and hopefully we've managed to sort of inspire them and made them think about something a little different from what's on the news and headlines at the moment.
Oh, yes, yeah.
and even if we've just given you a bit of a break, that's a success in my books for sure. It's just the first of this. Probably it will be a series of online events and conversations where we will be talking on hot topics whenever they arrive. It's not a planning thing. Yes, thank you, Caroline. I feel like really this was a really nice conversation, and thank you for having the time and spending the time with us and our
no, it's been a pleasure. And one of the things I love about this is that it can be, anybody anywhere in the world, people who can't get out, people who maybe just physically don't have the mobility to get to things. Everybody can actually be part of this, and I think that's brilliant. I love the internet for that.
I know, and actually, because we've been recording this live stream, we will have the video actually on our YouTube channel and soon, and it will stay on Facebook, and it will be on Instagram as well, for that little but very, very interesting exercise Caroline did with the pencil.
I've got so many more, but that's go to the play with drawing. Oh, I can't remember the name.
If you're going to do any games this Friday night, you can just project this one to your friends and see what everybody comes up with. And please do post pictures. I'm sure Caroline would love to see them, but don't tell them.
Oh, well, people are doing that in the group already. It's brilliant.
Okay.
And they're commenting, and they say, "Oh, I did this," and oh, I did that. And it's this sort of surprise, and then people are really pleased with themselves. That's what I love about it. So I say, go to carolinebanks.co.uk, sign up, I'll send you information, and then you can take it from there.
Fabulous. Thank you very much, Caroline.
Okay.
I will.
Thanks, Minna.
Thank you.
And thanks everyone who's watched it and who will be watching it in future. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.